Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. The regular meeting of the Grosse Township Planning Commission will come to order. Would you all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First item on the agenda is additions and/or deletions of the agenda. Anybody who wishes to make a change in the agenda? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda as submitted.
So moved.
Motion from Rathel, support.
Support.
Support Ranker. Call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. The agenda stands. Next item is public comment, an opportunity for citizens to speak with the commission about any item not on the agenda. No hands, so we will move on. Next item is the approval of the minutes from Monday, June 30th. Are there any comments on those minutes? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve as submitted.
So moved.
Motion from Fukuchi, support.
Support.
Ranka. Call the question. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Minutes are approved. First item on the agenda is the resignation of Angela Sukockas. She's been on the commission now for a couple of years and decided that given her other duties on the Board of Education and her family duties that it was time to move on from the commission. But I thought it was really nice and important to share a few thoughts that she wrote in her resignation letter because they reflect on how she viewed this commission and how this commission actually operates. So I'll quote from this here. Over the last several years, I've enjoyed being part of very key decisions as it relates to the master plan, major projects and petitions, ordinance updates, and some lively discussions. As I reflect on this experience, I am proud of the contributions I was able to make. I encourage you all to continue to think creatively and future-focused. Continue to keep the longevity and sustainability of our community at the forefront of your decisions, and always be willing to listen and discuss openly your perspectives. I think we have done a wonderful job of striking a balance between differing mindsets, and most importantly, we have all put full energy and focus into this little island that we love so much. I appreciate the work that you each do and respect your willingness to serve. Sincerely, Angela. I think that you all should take what she says to heart here because it reflects the way we do business. We listen to other people, we respect opinions, and we work for the good of the community. So on that note, I would entertain a motion to accept the resignation of Angela with regret and with thanks for the service that she rendered.
So moved.
We have a motion from Brian. Support? Support from Jay. I'll call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Angela, thank you very much. Next item is an appointment to the recommendation to the Township Supervisor for the position. Since that resignation was received, we have been working to identify and interview candidates to be able to make a recommendation back to the Planning Commission tonight. Bill Heil, Ross, and me, all of us, three of us, we interviewed candidates. We had a standard agenda with standard questions, standard format, and we had a total of 6 individual interviews over the span of about 3.5 weeks, something like that. Okay, and it was a very interesting process because there really were very qualified people out there to serve on the commission. Virtually every applicant that came in presented himself very well in the interviews and would have been a fit for the commission. In the end, however, we identified Joe Gruber, who is here tonight, as the best candidate for the Planning Commission. He has extensive experience with government, and literally on both sides of the table for planning commissions. He is an expert in downtown development activities in Wyandotte, and we thought he would be a really good resource to add to our commission. The process is a little different than what it's been in past years. The subcommittee, Ross, Bill, and me, we make a recommendation to the Planning Commission. The Planning Commission votes and makes a recommendation to the Township Supervisor. The Township Supervisor then takes that recommendation and passes it on to the Township Board, who ultimately votes to approve. I asked Joe to come tonight to introduce himself to all of you and to say hello to us and offer some thoughts about what he would like to do as a member of our commission. Welcome, Joe.
Thank you. Appreciate that, Mr. Sukockas, and good evening, members of the commission, many familiar faces and friends from the community. My name's Joe Gruber. I live on Park Lane here on Groseal since 2017 with my wife. We now have 4 young children who are making their way through the Groseal school systems. As you'd mentioned in the introduction, I work for the City of Wyandotte as Downtown Development Director, a position I've served since 2016. I've helped oversee the updates to the master plan, working on our update to the zoning code of ordinance right now as well, and then a handful of special projects on an annual and day-to-day basis with the City of Wyandotte there. I also serve as their Economic and Community Development Director as well, something that Ross is quite familiar with in his role as well. I'm excited to join the commission. It's an opportunity to be more civically engaged and active in Groseal, which being a resident here and a homeowner and a taxpayer, member at local schools and churches. So it's important that, want to give back and serve my time here with the Planning Commission. Look forward to helping to get the zoning ordinance, master planning ordinance, and all those things updated as well. But here to learn and listen and hopefully contribute to some good decision making. So thank you.
Joe, thank you very much, and we definitely look forward to seeing you on this side of the table.
I appreciate that. Thank you. And thank you for the vote of confidence. Appreciate it.
Okay, gentlemen, I would ask for a motion, please, to recommend the appointment of Joe Gruber to Supervisor Porcelli for appointment to the Planning Commission.
Support. Move.
Motion
Yeah.
from Brian, support.
Support.
Support from Eric. Call the question.
Aye.
All in favor? Aye. Unanimous. Joe, this will go to Supervisor Porcelli, and I presume Ross at the next board meeting
Yep, October 14th.
on the 14th? Okay.
Or
and
13th, whatever the second Monday of.
Second Monday?
Yeah.
From that point forward, you will be on the commission and start to relieve packets and information and be able to attend our next meeting. Thank you.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir.
So, Joe, did I hear right that you basically do what Ross does in Wyandotte?
Essentially, yes.
Nice.
You might also. Yes, that is correct. Ross and I have.
that.
Forward-thinking young blood up on that commission.
Yeah.
I like that. I don't.
Ross and I have been professional acquaintances and colleagues in this field for as long as he's been here. So it's going to be fun to work alongside him and alongside all you guys as well.
We just got a major upgrade. This is
that
nice.
what- is that
And
what we're
Wyandotte,
going with?
nobody can say that Wyandotte, downtown Wyandotte, isn't fantastic and
Appreciate that.
amazing.
There are a lot of wonderful people doing some amazing things. So I'm just a small piece of that for sure. I can't take credit single-handedly, no doubt.
So Ross is a few years and 3 kids behind you?
That's right. Lord willing. Amen.
Yeah, right.
Welcome.
Chair, if I may.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Appreciate that.
We're really excited. So.
Mr. Chair, if I may, let me say I've had the pleasure of working with Joe for a number of years, both in a professional and a personal capacity, and so he's a great guy with level head on his shoulders, forward thinking. Great to have him be a part of the commission, and it's kind of the same way that I came about this, as being a planner and wanting to give back to the local community in that capacity. So again, Joe, welcome.
I appreciate you saying that, Brian. We've done some really wonderful things together through his work with the Southeast Michigan Council of Governments. So a lot of smart people here up on the board as well. So I look forward to working with you guys.
Just as a point of information, we did have some contacts in Wyandotte, and your reputation was exceptional.
That's good. That's good to hear.
So Joe, I just got clear. You said you live on Grosio,
That's
right?
correct. Yes. Yeah. Grosio resident.
I'm not, I just asked the question.
Not in Wyandotte.
Maybe you can move to Wyandotte.
I live in Wyandotte.
Yeah, that's right. Congrats, by the way.
There's something poetic in that.
Mr. Chair, if I could say something a little more serious. I was so impressed with the resumes that we received. I thought that any number of them, as you said, would have been great, which is a far cry from years where we were like begging people to join the Planning Commission. So it's great to have that kind of talent that's interested in participating with us, and we hope that that interest level keeps up, because it was a great group of resumes that I saw. I'm not sure I saw all of them, but the ones I saw were stellar.
That's
So,
awesome. Thank
great.
you for
Thank
saying.
you.
What a tremendous honor to be selected amongst the group. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
Other thoughts, guys? Joe, thanks again.
Okay. Thank you, guys.
Okay, we'll move on to the first modification for zoning ordinances. The proposal was to upgrade several zoning ordinances for the purposes of updating our performance guarantees. This is really administrative changes that are being proposed by staff in order to enable them to give them what they need in order to actually, manage the township operations better. So it involves Article 7 on Macomb Street, Article 19, general provisions, Article 20, permits, performance guarantees, and enforcement, and Article 24, administrative organization. The township is updating these ordinances specifically for the performance guarantees, as I said, for applicants for building and zoning compliance permits, and for property and structural improvements. The ordinance update process is defined in Article 25, zoning ordinance amendments. First, there is a public hearing. Second, there is a planning commission approval recommendation to the township board. And third, there is the township board final approval. And I expect that the planning commission will vote on these various changes tonight. Brian, would you have some comments on this, or Ross?
Nope. We are increasing performance guarantees because right now, to build a new home, we only charge $1,000. We need to be able to increase those to make builders accountable on the island. Also, this addresses, sometimes building permits are open for years and years and years without any sort of recourse, and this allows us to have definitive timelines when to be approved, with granting one extension, 1 year long extension, and then after that, it's sort of, we have to get serious and figure out.
Any questions for Ross on this?
I do.
Please.
Ross, so this addresses these homes that are on the island that are being built and they never get completed, correct?
Correct.
So there's more, I guess, bite that you have to go after these developers or the homeowner that's, for whatever reason, stop, because in the past, they just could do one little thing in a home and say, well, we're moving forward, but
Right.
yeah, it's been a problem, so.
Yeah, it's giving us some teeth in the ordinance to say, hey, you have to have this completed, and if not, you have to resubmit and apply for all those permits so that they're financially obligated to complete the work that they set out to do. So, it's meant to. I can think of one in mind, but there's actually quite a few on the island.
Yeah, the one in mind, I mean, it's, front and center for the last, 20 years, and, but there's others, right?
Yep.
That, I agree, this is good work.
Other questions or thoughts for Ross before we open the public hearing? Hearing none, I will open the public hearing. Are there any public comments regarding these changes to the various ordinances I outlined for the improving performance guarantees? Any hands? I see no hands. I would entertain a motion, please, to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Motion from Jay, support.
Support.
Eric, call a question. All in favor of closing the public hearing, say aye.
Aye.
Bring it back to the board. Is there a motion?
So moved. Or is it written a motion? Or we just have to make a motion based upon his changes?
Ross?
Yeah, you could just read the motion under action item number 3, and that'll suffice. Yeah, so it's a motion to recommend to the Township Board to approve zoning text amendments at section 285.
That's it.
That's it. I'll move that.
There
Okay.
you go. That works.
We have a motion, we
I'll
have
work
a
that out in the
second.
minutes.
I'll call a question. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Motion carried. That, I assume, will go on the agenda
Yep.
as well. Next item on the agenda is another zoning ordinance change, specifically looking at Article 17, waterfront requirements. The provisions of Section 285-17-4D are permitted uses under waterfront address clear vision triangles in waterfront yards. These are areas of land with restricted uses so as not to impede the views along the shoreline. The ordinance references continuous hedges, continuous rows of vegetation, various types of vegetation that are intentionally put there to restrict vision. It is what is being asked for now is to expand the definition to include other items besides vegetation, and these would be fences or any other temporary or permanent improvements that might be made. This actually was initiated as a result of a court case that the township was engaged in against a homeowner, and the judge ruled in favor of the homeowner. And rather than proceed to appeal the decision and spend legal costs, the township opted to simply make the recommendation to change the ordinance to better reflect what the township actually intended. And so that's what's basically happening tonight. So the relevant ordinance here, again, is Article 25, zoning ordinance amendments. And again, the same process as I just described. We have a public hearing. We make a recommendation to the Township Board, and then the Township Board finalizes the approval. Mr. Borden, sir, have you comments on this, please?
I think your overview covered everything I would have said. If Ross has anything to add, or if you have questions, I'm happy to help.
Okay. Questions before I open the public hearing for Brian? Anybody?
Mr. Chair, are we going to come back to discuss this
Yes.
after? Okay.
We're going to open the public hearing first.
Yes.
Okay, so we're going to now open the public hearing for anybody who would like to speak to the changes in waterfront requirements as I have outlined. Any hands? Seeing none, I will entertain a motion, please, to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Motion from Eric, support from Brian. Call the question to close the public hearing. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried unanimously. Now we'll bring it back to the table and go through and look for questions and comments. We'll start with you, John.
So looking at this, and I understand the reasons for this, okay, and I understand the lawsuit and how it ruled and what we were recommended to do. Certainly sheds, anything permanent, I don't know if a big row of hedges would be considered permanent. I would consider that more permanent at blocks. The only thing that I think probably goes a little bit too far is playground equipment. I mean, literally, if a neighbor didn't like somebody that had a trampoline in their backyard, and they say, well, that's in my line of sight, I don't want to look at your trampoline. and, you know, here all of a sudden a family that, you know, has kids playing in the backyard, jumping on a trampoline or a little swing set or something that is not considered for most people an abusive view of waterfront property. So I get it, I understand it. There's things that we don't want. We don't want to have that triangle blocked by hedges and buildings and things, but playground equipment is overstepping in my opinion.
Any thoughts, Brian?
Playground equipment is the exact reason that this draft ordinance is in front of you. That's, I mean, without that, the court decision was specifically to a trampoline issue. The township tried to enforce the ordinance.
Which is why I mentioned the trampoline, Brian,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, and to be clear, I mean, this wasn't the only case, you know, this court case wasn't the only case where this playground equipment has been an issue for waterfront provisions. There's been several times where it's came up at the building department. You know, it was just kind of to communicate the fact that any sort of temporary structure, I mean, it's just an example. It doesn't have, you know, anything relating to a shed or playground equipment or
Right,
any
but
sort of
what
structure.
it does, and this is, you know, what happened was you had a neighbor didn't like a trampoline and the kids yelling or whatever, and, you know, now it becomes a visual issue for their waterfront, right? So, I mean, I can't, I mean, obviously we have to vote for it, but I am not in favor of telling somebody that lives on the water that they can't put a trampoline, you know, in the view of a side view of their neighbor, and the neighbor it doesn't block the view. Trampolines don't block the view, because they don't want kids, you know, yelling and jumping and whatever. So
I happen to know that my daughter and son-in-law have a trampoline for their kids, and it isn't the trampoline per se, it's the 6 or 7 feet of screening that's around it in order that it's safe so that the kids don't like fly off, they fly into the netting. And,
Yeah.
and it is a structure.
yeah,
Every
sure.
bit of structure.
And it's up there for, you know, maybe 4 or 5 months out of the year. It's taken down, and, you know, good neighbors, and you know how I'm always about neighbors getting along and talking. They could, you know, hey, can you just move the trampoline? I can't see the whatever, all right? But is it really the view? Okay, is it the view? I mean, think about you're looking out and you see a trampoline, right? I know this for a fact, okay? You look out and you see a trampoline, you're not blocking the view of the water, not blocking the view of anything, really. So is it the trampoline, or is it the fact that you don't want, you know, the noise coming from your neighbor?
Just as a caveat, if I could, Mr. Chair. So in this case, the judge directly stated there's no question that this obscures views. There's no question.
Well, I don't care
But
what
it's
the
just the
judge
fact
said.
that
I
the
mean,
zoning
what,
ordinance
you know.
doesn't address it. So I mean, I'm just saying,
doesn't impress me.
so that we're just doing our due diligence. We're just doing our due diligence and the recommendation of the township attorney.
You
to
don't need to
Efficiently.
justify why you have it in here. I'm just saying that I can't support the fact that, you know, a trampoline in somebody's backyard could be required to be removed because a neighbor, it obstructs his view on an angle of the water. I know situations and people that have them, and I can't even imagine that, but anyway.
Well, let's see what other people think. Jay?
Yeah, I have a question, and I probably should have looked this up, but it dawned on me that I've wondered this in the past and never bothered to look it up, so I'll ask people who know the answer to this. Is there a height limit on this? I mean, could I have a 2-foot tall hedgerow along my lot line that doesn't block anybody's view, but it's a hedgerow? Could I have a short fence that, you know, is low and, you know, isn't blocking people's view, or is it anything is a violation?
There isn't a height that's specifically listed. It's simply the reference to if it obscures views. The reality is that, I think the township stance historically has been that really nothing should go within those clear vision triangles. You can place things, you can plant trees, shrubs, other items outside of the clear vision triangle. There's a graphic in the ordinance if you've seen it. You know, there's a lot of waterfront yard typically, not always, typically left over even with the application of the triangles along both side lot lines. And that would typically be the location if they wanted to do some plantings, be it decorative or whatever it might be, where you would do that. But yeah, historically, even if it was, you know, a 2-foot row of hedges, I think the safety net has been that the township has been against that.
Yeah. Yeah, I just, you know, what I'm picturing is a trampoline without the netting, right, is about 3 feet tall, 4 feet tall, something like that. And for the most part, you're looking at a horizontal slice that isn't blocking anything, but that netting it's typically not clear, right? It's dark of some, you know, relatively opaque, and, you know, 15 feet wide-ish and 10 feet tall. I mean, by the time you get to the top, plus the
No, not
Plus
that
the
high,
netting?
not that high, but, you know, but it, so,
Continue, Jay.
go ahead.
I disagree with Mr. Rathel here. I think it can be just as much of a barrier as a 10-foot hedgerow. I think it you know, I agree. Neighbors should work things out. And if the neighbors are okay with it, then, you know, it's probably never going to come to the township. But if the neighbors aren't okay with it, I think it is a barrier to division.
Thank you, Jay. Eric?
Yeah, I'm siding with Jay on this, or with John on this one.
Can you expand on that, or is it?
Yeah.
Same thing. I mean, playground equipment. I'm thinking the same thing. There's the safety net, but most of the ones I've seen have not had the safety net on the trampoline, right? And then thinking, you know, any other little thing you're gonna put out there for the kids to play on, like a water table or something, right? I mean, I think it's a little overbearing.
Okay. Mr. Boggs?
Brian, just to help put it in perspective for us, do you know what the angle is of the triangle? I'm trying to understand how much of the yard is left over for things such as trampolines. You know, is there much left over, or is
Right. Well, it
I
depends.
don't remember offhand what
it
it is.
depends on the width of the lot. It's a 30-degree triangle at the intersection of the side lot line and the average shoreline setback line. So every lot is different. Every lot is its own set of regulations in terms of how the triangle applies. So if it's a narrower lot, you're going to have less area to do things. If it's a really large lot, the triangles might not even intersect all the way to the shoreline. Just depends on the width of the lot.
Okay.
The thoughts, Dan?
No other thoughts right now.
Brian?
I'm going to side with Mr. Rathel on this. I do not agree that playground equipment, one, obscures anything. Two, if it, like playground equipment is very, like broad. So like a full swing set, I mean, that's playground equipment. And a playground, a swing set is similar to a tree. And we're allowed to have trees generally in the area. So I don't see like how it really disturbs people's views. Furthermore, it's like, we talk about, potentially like in past meetings, we talked about having like waterfront, structures in order to like house kayaks or things of that nature. We've already talked about that, and that would like fly in the face of this over here. And then, just looking at the graphic that, Mr. Borden had mentioned, within our zoning ordinance, it shows, two houses side by side. And again, the wide one has, so much more room to work with. And the narrower one, doesn't have any room. Like basically they have to put structures basically, right in front of their house. And I don't think that's right. I just don't think that, it's equitable. And I feel like it's basically having a unintended incentive to create more large lots within the within the township. And again, we're trying to create more affordable housing, and I feel people shouldn't be penalized for having a waterfront yard.
Thank you, Brian. Okay, then is there further discussion on this? Then we need a motion, please, regarding this proposed ordinance change. Is there a motion?
I move that we make the changes as submitted minus the playground equipment.
Okay, we have a motion,
Support.
support, motion and support. Okay, Brian and Ross, what would that specifically exclude?
Well, I mean, it kind of goes hand in hand, as Ross mentioned. I mean, the reference to playground equipment is just an example of. So, I mean, you're still saying placement of any other temporary or permanent improvement. So, I mean, I don't know that just removing the word playground equipment, I still think the interpretation, and the township's open to interpret its ordinances how it sees fit. But I think if you see temporary or permanent improvement, I mean, I think that's still playground equipment. I think that's still a trampoline. So,
Well, why did you specifically put playground equipment in the verbiage?
that was one of the points of reference. And again, that was the whole reason that this was presented to you, was because of a trampoline
Because
issue.
we wanted to highlight it, right? And it was,
It's an example of temporary or permanent improvement.
well, then I'm okay with the township ability to look at it and interpret it when it comes up. Because I'm sure that there is playground equipment, okay, that could be pretty invasive, right? I mean, you get this, gigantic pirate ship out there with swing sets all over it and, jumping bars and hanging ropes and everything. And, now you got a big jungle gym out there, right? And it's right in the middle and it takes up a wider, circumference or square footage in a yard to do that, right? But there's a lot of playground equipment, or whatever playground equipment is defined as, right? I mean, what is playground equipment? So when we look at something like a trampoline or a swing set or something that is a normal backyard playground, I mean, they may want to put like a basketball net right there, just a single basketball net, right? And all of a sudden, nope, can't have that. It's in my field of view, right? So, it's, okay, I'm done talking with it, but.
And Mr. Chair, I don't know, again, I don't want us to spend all our time on this tonight. I mean, the commission obviously has some strong opinions on this. The reality of the situation is none of those things are allowed in a waterfront yard anyway. Your waterfront provisions greatly restrict what you can and can't do with respect to structures, and Article 17 does not list playground equipment, basketball courts, basketball hoops, swing sets, trampolines. None of those things are allowable waterfront uses or structures anyway. So
Right, but we went to court and we lost with our existing ordinance, and the judge ruled in favor of the homeowner. So we may have it in there, but the judge just said, nah, I'm ruling in favor of the homeowner. So if we would have just said, yeah, you know what, let's not fight this one, it's a trampoline, and just let it go, right, because we had the ability to do it, we wouldn't have had to spend the money, we wouldn't have to go to court, we wouldn't have to get this ruling, we wouldn't have to do all the work that you're doing now to try to eliminate playground equipment.
Okay, let's bring it back and take a look at what specifically is the motion. Is the motion to, I'm not sure what the motion
Well,
is.
the motion is, okay, proposed changes, okay, to, just this one paragraph, right? Is that what it is? So it's just, proposed changes 17.4D,
Correct.
okay? He added the words fences and/or construction or placement of any other temporary or permanent improvement. Okay, that's added. Fine, I'm good with that. He changed just some verbiage by eliminating not and permitted, but then further defined that obstructs views along shoreline, example, hedgerows or green fence, and then he added playground equipment or shed. I agree with shed, right? But with these proposed changes, I would be okay with just eliminating playground equipment, keep shed, and keep everything else that he added.
All right, is that now your motion? Is that the motion?
Yeah, that was one of my first motion, but yeah,
Yeah, that was the first motion. That's the one I seconded.
yeah.
Okay, so basically, it's everything that's in there, excluding playground equipment. Okay, what, discussion about that. Staff, what does that do in terms of your interpretation? Do you need examples?
I mean, it helps, but I mean, temporary structures, that's defined in our ordinance. I mean, it'll be fine.
Okay,
It'll help us on the enforceability of it.
all right,
I mean,
then,
the overall intent's still
I would
there.
recommend if we want something stronger, we got to do something with more architectural guidelines, heights, things like that, right?
Right.
Transparency.
Yeah.
But I think without going into that deep dive right now, I think this is what I'm ready to do.
Yeah, for what it's worth, I think it does, it strikes a really good balance because the rule is the same, the example is stricken, so that somebody doesn't look at this and see, say, a trampoline that doesn't have a netting, or is only up a short time, or, you know, something like that, that they don't look at that and say, it says right here, playground equipment of any kind can't be there, right? And so it really would just be the abusive ones that, you know, that would be an issue that the township would look at and do something about. I think it strikes a good balance for
I'm not-
leaving some, you know,
Yeah, I agree.
some vagueness there intentionally, I think.
Brian?
Mr. Chair, maybe I'm a little confused, but to me, it seems like that doesn't provide any nuance. You know, it says that these, you know, items would not be, they would be prohibited. So it doesn't seem like there's nuance to say, oh, well, if it does, obstruct the view, then it's not permitted. You know, it seems like just flat out, like, hey, you can't have anything within the within those clear view triangles, whether that be permanent or temporary. Is that a correct reading of the way it is?
That's been the historic interpretation of the
So,
township.
so regardless if playground equipment is mentioned or not, it's still an issue. Someone could bring it up. So I don't think we've really solved anything. And like, you know, if we're gonna put forward a motion, I mean, I'm not sure if this is gonna solve the issue at all. So like, what's the point of doing it if it's like not going to actually help them out? And it seems like many of us are concerned about even having, you know, prohibiting certain items like within these clear view triangles.
Mr. Chair, if I may.
Please.
This was reviewed by our township attorney. I mean, this gives us the enforceability that we need.
Right.
Whether or not playgrounds are included in there or not, it's just an example. This gives us the enforceability that's needed.
This gives the township the enforceability to keep everything out of the triangles. And I think this board is saying that we want to allow some things in the triangles, like playground equipment.
That's
So
all-
we're saying something different than what the township wants right now.
Well, I think one of the things that I heard early that makes me feel like this does work is, and I don't see it here, maybe it's in the broader ordinance, but that it is obscuring vision is a part of that, right? When I asked about the height, one of the answers was that part of that is if it obscures vision. So, you know, I wonder, you know, and I don't know if you two are the right ones to ask, but, you know, if somebody did put a basketball hoop back there and a neighbor complained about it, and it's not, you know, there's no netting around it, it's just a, you know, clear glass backboard, setting aside the fact that that's technically a violation, what would the township do in that situation, with or without this ordinance?
Well, what they hopefully would do is say, okay, we're not gonna go after them because we went after somebody with a trampoline and we lost with our ordinance. Okay, so what this does is it says, listen, okay, we're gonna take this and give our people more ability, more teeth in our current ordinance to go after things that do matter, sheds, hedgerows, all that stuff, right? Because that's being beefed up. But it's leaving open the possibility for playground equipment. I mean, that's all we're doing. We beef up our ordinance from where it is now with my motion, and we take out the playground ordinance. And like you said, Jay, this strikes a balance, all right? It gives them the ability to have more teeth in our current situation. we're able to look at the playground situation a little bit more carefully of, okay, do we have the ability to win in court? Do we want to go after this? Is it really an issue? Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, we got a neighbor that's complaining, but is it really an issue? And we say, no, well, we're not doing anything. Okay, if it is an issue, we can go back with these changes and address it. So I think it's a happy balance and allows the ability for people in their backyard to put a swing set or a trampoline or a basketball hoop and not just over legislate flipping fun in somebody's backyard. I mean, come on, man.
Okay, additional discussion. Well, we have a motion on the floor. It's been from John, and it was supported by Eric, and the motion was to accept the language as proposed with the exception of deleting reference specifically to playground equipment. That is the motion. If there's no further discussion, I'll call the question.
I'll just add, as far as, to me, it's just removing playground equipment still keeps it in there. It's not really changing anything if you remove it, because it's just an example. They could still enforce, playground equipment. Again, like the example of the basketball hoop, that still technically could be enforceable. So if that's your intent in order to try and, save or, provide some nuance and context sensitivity, I don't think that this ordinance has it.
That's my intent of what you just said was my intent, to leave that where we have the ability to go in and assess the situation without hard and fast rules of absolutely not, when that absolutely not could be very beneficial to the homeowner, to the neighborhood, to the island. This gives us that balance that's my motion. So
Okay, so we have, is there additional discussion? Okay, I'm going to make this a roll call vote. Brian?
Nay.
Dan?
Yay.
Eric?
Yay.
Jay?
okay.
John? I vote yay. Okay, the motion carries. Please pass this on to the Township Board. I don't know if a findings of fact is needed or it stands on its own merit, however you do it. You can pass it on to the Township Board. Vigorous discussion, gentlemen. Okay, next item. Mr. Boggs is going to be leaving the table. Mr. Boggs, as you noted from all the information that was provided, is the architect for the next proposal. And so he's going to join the other side of the table. And we will continue to process this without him. Thank you, Dan.
Okay.
Okay, next item is a site plan review specifically for the Airport Inn. The applicant is Dan Boggs, architect, 8538 Bund Avenue, Island Boulevard, Grosse Ile. Sorry, can't read my own writing. The owner is Ed Kosteroff, 23215 West River Road.
Wrong.
Sorry?
Wrong.
That's what's on the drawings.
No, I'm the contractor. I am not the owner.
Okay, thank you for correcting that. That was an error on the drawings. Or on the application, one or the other. Sorry about that.
Okay.
The property location is 9264 Grow. That's on the northeast corner of Grow and Meridian. The proposal is a major renovation and expansion of the restaurant bar facility that's there. And this would include a new vestibule that provides barrier-free access, a new outdoor seating area on the south side of the building, an expanded parking area, new waste receptacles and an enclosure, and various other building exterior changes to enhance the appearance of the structure. The zoning on this is C1 Commercial District. The relevant ordinances are Article 6, C1 Commercial District, and Article 21, Site Plan Review. The process is a single step. It's Planning Commission review and decision, and I expect that the Planning Commission will vote on this tonight. Mr. Borden.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. Oh. We have a commissioner that just showed up.
Bill, you want to join us?
Thanks, Mr. Chair. I did not do my typical presentation this evening. We do have, the plans are available on the screen and can certainly scroll through any of them. Petitioner is here along with project architect, Mr. Boggs, so they will probably cover most of their presentation and certainly can walk you through the plans. I did prepare a full site plan review letter for commission's consideration. For the most part, the vast majority of my comments are either relatively minor or they're cleanup or they simply require a minor action on the petitioner's part. So I'm going to kind of gloss over those for my discussion at this point. Can certainly come back to any one of these because I do feel that all of these need to be addressed in some manner. But I really have whittled it down. So I think there's probably, there's 3 items that we need to discuss and then 1 item in closing that I would want you to include as a condition if you're ready to act on this tonight. So the first item that I would like for, at least for discussion purposes, is I did request as part of the review that the petitioner address a couple of the key ordinance considerations. In this case, in particular, within the C1 district, which are all aware was recently amended, we did put in provisions for outdoor seating within the district. One of the standards that has to be met is that the noise levels cannot disturb adjacent uses. So I did request that the petitioner provide you with some level of information, documentation related to operations, related to potentially hours of operation, whatever it might be, as to how they can help ensure that that noise levels will not disturb the adjacent use. In this case, there is a single-family home adjacent to the east of the property, so we want to make sure that the outdoor seating area does not disturb them. So that's something I'll be looking for from the petitioner. Part of that, also, again, kind of back to this idea of the operations, there are requirements within the ordinance related to just essentially keeping the outdoor patio clean, free of debris. I don't envision that's going to be much of a concern. They're going to be operating a business. Obviously, they're not going to just leave trash out there, but I did want something documenting or demonstrating to commission satisfaction that they would comply with those particular sections of the ordinance. And then the last one, similarly, again, I don't envision this as an issue, but I want some confirmation from the petitioner. Part of the ordinance provisions for outdoor seating do require that in the winter months, the outdoor furniture has to be stored away, essentially off-site. So I just want to make sure that they are aware of that and that that's something that they can comply with if this is to move forward. So again, pretty minor, but I do think the noise issue is really the important consideration out of those 3 items. And I'll kind of come back to these two, Mr. Chair, and we can turn it over to Mr. Boggs and the owner and contractor for some further discussion. So the other one that I wanted to bring up for discussion purposes is the and I'm not sure anyone, maybe someone on the commission knows, but the site has 2 driveways. There's one on Grove, there's one on Meridian. The one on Meridian has had essentially a barricade across it for as long as I can remember. I don't remember when it went up. I don't essentially really know why it went up. I have my guesses. My guess is it had something to do with the bike path potentially going in and probably not having a full commercial driveway crossing over the bike path. But I don't know that for a fact. So part of, at least anytime we open up a site plan, we want to look at the full site. We want to look at the full impact. So depending on what the commission's feelings are about this particular item, I do think you're in position to Either we can leave it as is, it's been that way, or we could, as part of this site plan review, you could require removal of the barricade, removal of the driveway to keep it a safe situation if that's really what it was for. But I wanted to at least bring it up as a point of discussion because, again, anytime we open up a site plan for full review, we want to make sure that we're looking at everything. And this is one of those, it's kind of a unique situation that we don't have a lot of great answers for, but I definitely wanted to bring it up for discussion purposes. I think it's warranted. And again, whether the commission feels changes are needed or appropriate is entirely up to you. I'm not suggesting they are, but I do think it's something that should be discussed as part of the site plan review. The third one, and then this is really, I think this is probably the most important part of the conversation for our purposes tonight, and that is the expanded parking lot that's proposed as part of this project is proposed to be surfaced with gravel. Under your zoning ordinance, within the parking requirements, it is required to be hard surfaced. There is a provision that would potentially allow for gravel, but it should come at the recommendation of the township engineering consultant. It is my understanding, I have not seen a review or a letter, but it's my understanding that your engineering consultant does not support the use of gravel for this expanded parking lot. So I think that's a pretty important item that needs to be discussed here tonight. So whether the petitioner agrees to pave it and simply meet the ordinance, or whether there's a dialogue that can be had, including the township engineering consultant, to either bridge a gap or bring it to a conclusion. I do think that's one of the biggest items that's before you as part of the site plan this evening. And then the other one, as I mentioned, is sort of just a closing comment. If you are going to consider taking action on this tonight, do want to make sure that we have a condition that full engineering and full fire marshal reviews are conducted, and that petitioner will have to address any comments that are put forth by those entities. Like I said, I have a few other little cleanup items, but I wanted to hit the high notes. I didn't want to take up all of your time this evening with some nitpicky stuff. So I'm happy to take questions, or again, we do have ownership, contractor, and project engineer representation in the audience too.
Well, I suggest at the moment that we proceed with the applicant. In order to facilitate the discussion tonight, I asked Mr. Boggs to put together answers basically to the 10 or 12 items that were on your summary list, Brian, and that was included at the table here today. And perhaps, Dan, you can maybe lead us through that, and then we get to these more complex items, we can cover them at the table. Can we put that sheet up on the screen?
Do we have an additional one we can grab? Because I wanted to look at the one I have here.
Do you have another?
Is there an extra one there somewhere?
Just
Now, let's just kind of run down the list and make sure where we stand.
Slides. Can I just cover this verbally so we can see the slides and see the drawings?
If you prefer.
Okay,
Your
I
choice.
think I can verbally describe this and provide, visuals on the screen here of the actual drawings.
Okay.
I think it'd be best. Do you want me to go through all of them, or do you want me to go through all 12 items, or just hit the highlights?
Anything that was literally not addressed are the things that we have to discuss.
Okay.
So screen your responses that way.
Yeah, I'll go through a few of them. The few of the more important ones. I think quite a few of them are very simple and check a box. But I just wanted to start off with what the goals of this project were, because a lot of these items are required as part of the ordinance. But ultimately, the goals were simple. We wanted to be able to get somebody into this restaurant who's handicapped. Right now, there's a step. So there is no ramps. There's no way for someone to get in there. And also the owner wanted to have some outdoor seating. So keep in mind, the remainder of these improvements or mini improvements are all sparked from having those small improvements. So the first item that's very noticeable at the front of the building is that we're going to build a new vestibule. The new vestibule is a little bit larger than the old vestibule and will look better, but that larger size allows somebody to properly maneuver in a wheelchair into the building. Also, we have the new ramp that will get somebody in a wheelchair up to that level of the finished floor of the building. The new patio off to the side, as you can see, it's enclosed because liquor's going to be served there, so it's required to be enclosed for that reason. You can also see along the back side is going to be a 7-foot tall fence that keeps it secluded. Also, will help with noise a little bit. A few of the main, I think a lot of these items are. One item that I will call the client up here in a little bit to address is the noise and the storage of the furniture, but I want to skip past that right now. The gravel parking lot one is important. Right now there's no storm available to the site. So even if you wanted the storm drains, there's no place to connect it to. There's no storm available to the site. Gravel has been used at other restaurants in the township, and to my knowledge works fine. If the engineer is against gravel for some reason, I would request that they provide a reasoning of why gravel is not acceptable.
Has contact been made with CE Rains?
Not through me.
Okay, so we really don't know what the engineering position is.
No, I have communicated with Rains about this, but we didn't formally set up a meeting beforehand because we were waiting for planning commission review first.
Okay, so this will remain an open question and be part of what Brian was talking about, subject to engineering review. Understood.
Just as a point of note, right, so the Lloyd's was recently redone on Macomb Street, right, and it's got their additional parking lot in the back is gravel. Was that part of the site plan?
So that was an existing condition that the planning commission allowed to remain as a nonconformity as part of the site plan review. It was not a full expansion of a parking lot. That was then surfaced with gravel.
Okay.
So we have no authority on that tonight, is that correct?
I mean, I think the terminology in the ordinance is that you can allow alternatives, but it needs to be based on a recommendation of the township engineer. So I do think that's a very important one. Now, the commission could do a number of things, and I'm not going to put words in your mouths. I mean, you could certainly postpone until that dialogue can happen. You could move forward with the condition that this has to be resolved between the two parties, but ultimately, it's the commission's decision. So, I don't know if you're willing to move forward one way or the other, where, again, the engineer is recommending hard surfacing, which is required by the ordinance, which you could uphold and require. If you want to allow as an alternative, then I think that the township engineer needs to provide some more dialogue, and specifically with the petitioner.
So in a motion, the planning commission could, if we so chose, recommend that the engineer consider gravel as an option, that it would be part of the directions the planning commission would provide to them. Whether the engineer takes that advice or not is a different question.
Right. Well, and I think there's a lot more to it, because ultimately it's the planning commission's decision. You may allow them to use an alternative surfacing, but again, it should come with the support and recommendation of the engineer, and I don't believe we have that in this case. So,
Mr. Chair, can I ask a
Please.
clarifying question? So you've used and I think it comes from the ordinance, is right, you keep using it, the recommendation of the township's engineer. Is that, in your mind, does that create a distinction between, say, an action by the township engineer to say, yes, I want this, which is kind of implied by recommendation, or is that different than a non-objection? So in other words, if we said we're good with it unless the township engineer, objects to it, right? Is that consistent with the ordinance?
I think that would be fine. But again, I want to make clear, it's not I don't think there are going to be other things that will come to play, stormwater, et cetera. And I'm not an engineer, as you guys are well aware. So there may be other things that arise as part of that, but that could be, if the commission's comfortable with that, typically you would be making a decision based on the findings and the recommendations. But in this instance, I think if you want to help move things along, that could certainly be a fine approach if the commission's open to that.
Mr. Chair.
What are your thoughts? Yes, go ahead, John.
So, Dan, just so that I'm clear, okay, where exactly are they talking about putting gravel in?
I'm panning through the site plan right now. Over here on the site plan, you can see along here, see the mouse on there? Yeah, you can see Grow Road is right here,
Yes.
and Meridian's over here. So starting at Grow Road here, here's the front of the building. If you kind of roll around to the rear of the building, near the barricaded entrance currently, this portion in the back here is all gravel. And also, let me also point out the fact that this is all wooded area back here, and this is mature trees over there. I mean, you're really not going to see the gravel until you go back there, until you drive back there and experience the gravel. And,
Right.
and again, I brought up examples of like Tipsy Fish, also
Yeah, yeah.
Lloyd's has gravel in the back.
Yeah.
Tipsy Fish has a very large portion of parking there that has all.
Well, again, that was pre-existing, and we just allowed it to continue on. This is new development. But knowing the airport very well and what's underneath it, tying, if we were to require them to concrete this, we would need drains, right? We would need to tie stormwater sewer drains into our stormwater sewer system. Correct? We couldn't just have it run off to the side and create
No,
drainage.
not necessarily. You could, many parking lots surface drain. The water comes down, hits the asphalt, surface drains over to a large grass area. This particular project has a very large property behind. There's still remaining, let me see if I can see it on here. There's probably another, 100 foot of this, I don't know exactly what it is, it's on here somewhere. Another 100 foot of property left behind the parking area.
That's
that can
owned- that's
accommodate
owned
water,
by-
that can be-
it's owned by the-
Yeah, that's
the-
owned by the applicant.
Okay, so let's
Or
say,
not the applicant, owned by the owner.
yeah. So let's say that Ohio says, you know what, a hard surface is something that I would want in this particular case. We wouldn't need to require them to tie into a stormwater drain. The amount of water coming off of this square footage surface draining back towards their property wouldn't create flooding issues for any neighbors or create any concerns. So that's one possibility, right?
Yes.
And then the other is if we just do the gravel, then it drains down through the ground and we have no concerns whatsoever about flooding or anything, right? So I guess the only thing for me would be, and again with Ohio is, okay, why wouldn't we allow them to have gravel? Is there a reason in this particular case why we wouldn't want them to have gravel? And maybe there is, and maybe there's not.
I can think of one.
Okay, Mr. Kostroff, you want to come on up?
Good evening.
Evening.
The question? Why?
Why
Why
wouldn't?
would you not let us have gravel? Is
Yeah,
that the question?
yeah.
I have no idea. It
Oh,
must
well,
be
you didn't need to
somewhere in
come
an
up for that.
ordinance somewhere that says,
Because I already knew that answer.
yeah. I mean, the gravel would allow all the water to permeate right straight down like it does right now through the grass. In the back, there is a swale that goes right at the end of the existing property line. I think if we can slide that over.
We don't show that much of the property because
Okay.
the site is so long, it won't fit in the page.
Is it fair to say the primary issue between the two is cost?
Money. Money is absolutely the cost.
Okay.
Yeah,
Approximate cost to do the gravel as opposed to blacktop would be triple. If you added the storm sewer and the drainage, you're probably going to add another 150,000 because it has to go on the other side of Meridian.
That's where the storm sewer is?
That's where the storm sewer is.
Where Airport Inn is and where this parking is and the land that you have available and being behind the building and a lot of wood surround the whole thing, existing tree lines, to me, I would never be in favor of requiring you to put blacktop or drains. It makes no sense to me. But, I mean, I guess we're not at that point. That's just where,
Well, let's get a consensus on that before we move on.
No, I'm with John. I mean, if they've got to go to the other side of the road to hit a storm sewer, then it's not a feasible project. And if they put a blacktop there, then that water's got to go someplace. So it's either going to go and pool up in their backyard, or some of it's going to go in the neighbor's yard. So to me, an impervious, gravel, if you will, or impervious surface is the best one.
Brian, what are your thoughts on it?
I'll echo my fellow commissioners up here that I prefer to keep the costs down, and I don't specifically have a problem with stone so long as it, it's kept well. And I guess just one question I did have about that. I know that, and this is getting into the weeds a little bit, but like if you do porous pavement, for example, you have to vacuum that out in order to make sure that debris isn't going in, and that way it still works to infiltrate. So I just didn't know, related to that, if you were picking specific stones and types, so that way it makes sure that there's good drainage, that that way the water percolates down.
I would just like to add one other comment. I spoke to Mr. who is the owner, and I spoke with Russ Boismer, who is the resident directly east of the building, showed him our prints, showed him everything, and he was very much in favor of it. I will say that the only thing he asked is that the fence that is shown on the drawing, I don't know how to do it, okay, the fence that comes adjacent to his property and is right next to the Airport Inn, is going to be right next to the building. It is no space between the fence and the building, because some people have been known to walk around there and relieve themselves and smoke a different kind of cigarette than most people are used to. So we did say that would be totally blocked off. There would be a 7-foot fence there. Plus you can see all of the shrubs and the berm that are there right now. And I actually, I have pictures of that.
Okay. Before we go off on this, I want to close out this.
Yes, go right
I want to
ahead.
close out this issue on the paving and this. Jay, you didn't offer any thoughts, so what's your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I agree. I can't see a reason why we would want. I'd be interested in what the engineers, if the engineer has an objection, I'd be very interested to hear what it is, because not being an engineer, I have no clue what it could possibly be. Having said that, I just want to confirm that it would be, we've all been in good gravel parking lots and bad gravel parking lots. I just want to confirm that the materials would be similar to what we've seen at the other locations that you've referenced.
Absolutely.
Okay, there seems to be a consensus on that, so.
I'd like to offer a thought just for the record.
Oh, Bill, I'm sorry, I forgot you were
Stuck in
here.
on you.
Your thoughts,
Gravel,
Bill?
I have a concern about weather and gravel. I understand what others here are saying and don't disagree that it costs less money and you try to get a better return on investment by controlling cost. But if you have an uneven surface, or one that's like marbles in some cases with ice on them, you're asking people to walk into your restaurant over a treacherous surface that would be less treacherous, possibly, if it was smooth. I'm talking about maintaining it. If you try to put a snowplow in there, what do you do to the surface to change it? It's soft, so to speak, compared to a cement or asphalt covering. There's a big difference there in cost. But there's also a concern about the customer who comes in there, and on his way out, especially if he's got one or too many drinks in him and didn't know it, there's a hazard there is what I'm saying. I don't know what to say about it, and we're going to go board we're gonna go by the board's decision. But for me, that's a concern.
Mr. Heil, just so you get a broader picture, parking is only required because of the addition of the porch or the enclosed patio, not the enclosed, the patio that's there. That requires the extra parking. There is enough parking places right now for the airport in and the amount of guests that are allowed to come. So we would only see that parking in the rear on the gravel used when the patio is open.
If I understand you clearly, it's sort of a seasonal parking lot.
That is correct.
That answers the question I was raising. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I think that we have a consensus that, that we will offer a recommendation to the township engineer in our motion. So let's make sure that you document that, so when we come back to a motion, we're okay.
Mr. Chair, can I just real quickly, it's the commission's decision. So
Well, then we're making,
not the
then we're making a
engineer's
decision.
It's your decision, but.
Unless we're overruled for some reason.
Well, right, and again, that would get into far deeper conversations, but I wanted to make that clear, so
Okay. All right.
there's certainly a component
Just
of.
So just one other point. So as you mentioned, the other areas that support the existing business are hard gravel, are asphalt or cement. What's there now?
It's asphalt there now.
Asphalt. Is that going to be brought up to good standards as part of this project? In other words, no potholes. That's.
It's not in terrible standing as it is.
We want to make certain that the parts that's up front is in good condition.
In speaking with Mr. Missler about it, right now, it's a money issue. You know, everything is taking money to get the bar, restaurant in approval from the building department, plumbing, electrical, mechanical, and the exhaust system. So more than he anticipated, he's had to spend a lot of money. We initially thought we would seal the parking lot and restripe it. We will restripe it, but we won't seal it probably until spring when we do this work, because this work won't happen if you approve it until spring. Just kind of late in the game right now to try to get it done in the winter, pour cement and dig foundations and.
So, Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
you had made a comment that the parking lot, the gravel parking lot, is really only there to adhere to our requirements for the additional outside seating because the restaurant is capable of handling more people. In your projections, and Dan, in your projections, and the owners obviously want to make sure there's enough parking for everybody, do you feel that you need that many parking spaces?
Well, keep in mind that this is following, I can zoom in here, following the parking requirements that are in the ordinance. So that's what we
I
did.
understand that, but there's
Do they
something
need-
called
do
variances
they
as
need
well.
30?
So, we can only adhere to what's in our requirements, right? But if there's a good reason why you don't need that many, we have a ZBA you can go to and make the case and get more something that's in line. The reason I bring that up is you see a bunch of the trees and everything, the foliage and everything, that you're gonna go back and start cutting down and opening up that area, which is, it's a pretty unique area. It's not Macomb Street, it's down at the airport, and the environment at the airport's a lot different, correct? So my only question is in this particular case with the parking lot, is it just too many spaces because our ordinances require it? And is that the best use of the land down there and the parking that is actually needed? And I'm just saying that, I would look at it and go, yeah, we only need like maybe half that many. And not saying that you could get away with only doing half that many, and maybe it's not worth the fight.
I think, you know, I'm speaking for the owner. If he doesn't agree, he can say something, but the owners currently waited 2.5 months to get to this meeting. I think that they want to get the approval as opposed to going to the ZBA and going through more months of approval process. I don't think there's been an objection to the amount of parking, they prefer that would be
I'm not
gravel
suggesting that you
to-
do that, Dan. I'm just throwing it out there because he made the comment that the only reason they're putting that many in is the requirements, and didn't sound very convincing that they needed that many.
Mr. Chair, can I provide a point of clarification? The ordinance
Absolutely.
requires 22 parking spaces. They have 24 parking spaces depicted on the plan. The 30 is an incorrect reference. There are not 30 spaces there, nor are 30 spaces required. They have 2 above ordinance required.
Okay, well, there you go.
Okay? All right, so we've resolved that issue. So let's, Dan, move on to the next key point.
The one other area that we're looking for some leniency on was the buffer zone, and I just wanted to explain why the buffer zone is configured the way it is. The buffer zone is definitely a little bit smaller. As you can see, it's 10'8" here at the widest point, and it goes down, I don't know, probably closer to 10 foot because the property is angled here. But the idea behind this was over here is wooded area. We're trying to limit the amount of wooded area that has to be cut down in order to accommodate the parking lot. If we were to use the full buffer width, there would be a lot of wooded area cut down. So we reduced that down to that 10-foot width. Right now, what's unique, one thing that's unique to this site here is there's very large mature trees here. This, you really cannot see through to the neighbor's house. And definitely, once we put up this fence that connects from the back of the building all the way along the parking lot, past, or even with the dumpster enclosure, it'll block all headlights and you won't be able to see over there. Another thing you may notice, another thing that was mentioned here is not having as many plants as indicated in the ordinance. Over here, where there is no mature trees, we've filled in the amount of plants that are required. We've filled in, for the most part, many plants that will fit in here, being it's a little bit narrower. Over here, there may appear like there's space there, but keep in mind you're going to have a fence on one side and very mature trees on the other side. You're really not going to get, if you plant any more shrubs in there, you won't get any natural light to those shrubs to grow. That area is very, very tight right now, and those trees there will continue to grow. That was the main thing. I just wanted to explain the reasoning of why there was a little bit of reduction in the buffer distance and also the amount of plants.
I'd like to find out, do any commissioners have any concerns with what's been proposed regarding the buffer? The reason it was reduced and how it's being managed. Any concerns? Brian?
I do not have concerns.
Eric?
No.
Jay?
No.
John?
Nope.
Bill?
I'd like to ask one question. As I look at this drawing here, this picture, the dumpster, when they place this in use, is on the north end of the parking lot, the gravel. If it closes down for the winter, where do they put the dumpster is what I'm asking. Is it going to cost a parking space or two?
Dumpster's going to remain in the enclosure as required by the ordinances.
How do you provide safety from public walking over this parking lot and running into more slip hazards?
For the only people going out to the dumpster will be employees.
I'm not.
I guess I may not be understanding your question.
I was going to say, I'm trying to think of how to phrase it differently. There's a lot of access in here right now as you'd have this drawing set up. And if you stop using it, that's one thing, but that doesn't mean that stops people from moving around. I'm saying that when they're walking there in the winter icy hazard, it's avoidable. And I just don't want to be in court having to defend the fact that we didn't make it inaccessible.
I'm not quite sure how to address that.
I'm not either.
Yes, sir, please give us your name.
Hi, everybody. Pat Missler. I'm the new owner of the Airport Inn. To address your question, this would be no different than any other facilities around here that have a gravel parking lot. I already have procured Pierre Rainville to do my snowplow services and salting. That parking lot will be part of it regardless of the deck being open or not.
You're saying you're the same as other businesses here, like,
Correct. I know you had worry about scraping, using a snowplow over the gravel and whatnot, causing issues.
exactly.
These guys do this, they're professionals, they do it at other facilities, I don't see any problem with them doing it at mine. They'll plow, they'll salt. If people do walk back there, it'll be maintained as best as possible to avoid any type of injury or, issues you're having,
I tend to
coming
be a
up with.
cautious guy. I guess you can tell
Well,
that.
absolutely, insurance is expensive.
I used to sell insurance.
Okay, so, that answer your question, Bill?
Yes.
All right, so I think, based on the consensus, please note for the motion that the issue with the side yard setback basically is going to be accepted as proposed. Okay, let's move on. Dan, what else do we have?
That's all the general items that I wanted to point out. The rest are just straightforward items that are required by the ordinance, and we said we'd take care of it.
Okay, talk about the noise and the hours of operation. How is noise going to be managed?
Well, we have the 7-foot wall, the fence that we put
Yeah,
up there.
but there are hours of operation.
So
You know,
currently we'll be
are you going to have speakers out there?
No.
I mean, what do you talk about it?
putting speakers out there for that exact reason. We do not want to, burden the neighbors with that, so we'll just avoid that. It'll be an outdoor seating, it'll be summer, so if they stay out there beyond whatever hours, I mean, hours of operation will be dependent on, the business. So if it's busier, we'll stay open a little bit later, but we're shooting for, 11 a.m. to during the week, probably 11 p.m., and then weekends we'll stay open a little bit later.
Okay, so you would not allow someone to bring in a boom box or something comparable to,
Everybody's got a phone with a speaker. I guess I don't see a phone disturbing the neighbor.
No,
because
I don't
the
either.
fence will be up, probably pushed, and all the neighbors will be pushing to the southwest with the fence up, so I don't think noise will be an issue. And if it becomes one, obviously I'll address it at the time, but I don't foresee any problems.
okay, any questions on that? Jay?
Yeah, I think what really helps is from a noise perspective, because when I first heard about it, I thought, oh boy, because I was envisioning the seating in back, which is where the homes are.
Right.
This would be pretty close to Grow Road, and the homes, the nearby homes are set back a ways. I heard reference to the resident to the immediate east. Have you also spoken to the resident next to that? That's actually
Have
a
not-
little closer to the road.
No, we started with Russ, and he didn't have an issue. He thought it was a great idea. If you'd like me to go down the road and go one or two down further, I'm happy to do that for you guys.
The concern is just we don't want somebody coming back and going, how
Has
the
there been
hell-
any recorded
how the
noise
heck did you
complaints
guys let this
currently
happen?
from any of those neighbors, or do we have that?
Well, I'm certainly not aware of any, but I'm not
Okay.
sure I would be, to clarify that. But we're also talking about outdoor, and,
Sure.
from your answer, what I'm hearing is, as long as the bar is open and people want to be outside, you intend to let them be out there.
Sure,
Right.
absolutely.
And then that brings in the issue that somebody could be calling and saying, hey, it's 1:30 in the morning and there's, loud noises coming from the bar and, that sort of thing. So what we're looking for is how you address that sort of concern so that we feel comfortable that we're not making a mistake. If that makes sense.
Right. And obviously, you can only control people as far as you can control them on site at that moment. So, if people do begin to get out of control like that, again, there won't be any speakers. Now we'll just suppress it, and, if they continue, we'll just ask them to leave. We got to be respectful to the neighbors. We all got to get along, and, all I can do is make you the promise that I'll do my best to keep it under control. I don't see it being an issue.
If you take a look at page 2 of Brian's report, he has a aerial photograph of that area right there. And you will see all of the growth that is there, all the buffer between Airport Inn and Mr. Boismer's property, and then Mr. Boismer's property and the neighbor to the east. That's a lot of growth for sound to carry in here. Plus, you're doing a 7-foot fence, and I don't know how many people hang out till. I don't have teenagers or 20s anymore, so I don't know how long they hang out. Maybe they do hang out to 1:30 or 2, but I think Mr. Missler said he was, gonna keep the hours reasonable, and as well as he can monitor the sound, he will.
Okay, further thoughts? Bill?
But at this point,
John, you okay with this? Or other questions?
Yeah, I think that,
Noise.
yeah, I'm 100% in favor of this project. I mean, I'm very active at the airport here, and we always consider your restaurant part of the airport. We have pilots come in, and, I'm real excited about this and the new ownership and outside seat. I mean, everything about it is I just love it, right? But I'm also very aware of neighbor complaints here, being part of the airport for 30 years. And what one neighbor may say now, all of a sudden he says something different later, or somebody else moves in, or we have problems and noise concerns. And so the only issue that I had with this project when I first heard about it was, I've been kicked out of the airport in before. I was in high school at the time, so don't, that was a long time ago, okay.
Join the club.
And when I left, I was not whispering, okay. It's just something that has to be, I think, thought about in some way, addressed. If it's, I mean, even I live right next to a Centennial Farm, okay, and they have bands out there. People have backyard parties and everything, and we have ordinances that require all that stuff to stop at 11 o'clock, I think. Brian, if that's the case, and about when people have to.
Yeah, we just updated our noise ordinance, and it's handled by the police. So
Yeah. So everybody's kind of under the same requirement, right? Now, Macomb Street, no one's going to stay open as late as you guys are, right? You guys are the after bar. It's a tough one. I mean, I don't have an answer for you. I really don't. I know that there's buffer. I know there's a fence. I get it, right? It's dark. It's quiet at this airport, all right? And sound carries. I mean, how, like, you hear a plane, it's just an area that carries a lot of sound. I'm not saying that I want this to happen. I'll fight to have it happen, but I think it'd be wise to say, okay, outside seating, it's done at 11 o'clock. I mean, come on in, guys. I mean, we're not serving alcohol outside at 11 o'clock. And I don't know if I'm not saying that I just think that those types of things need to be discussed instead of just saying, we'll address it, and because you already said you can't control people, the noise, you can't, we don't want the police to control it, right?
No.
Do you remember Sharky's?
Yeah.
Okay, the police controlled it, right? And we don't want that, right? So, I don't know.
I think it'll be, self-policing as well. I know I've been here, I grew up here. So the community involvement, we're not gonna let a few bad apples ruin it for everybody else, so.
And that's like, says a lot, right? I mean, the credibility of the fabric of the airport in this community, right? The last thing you need to do is have a whole bunch of police showing up all the time for rowdy people, and, now neighbors are saying, shut it down, we're done with this. So.
Yeah, no. That is not how, we're not investing into this for to have that type of environment. We want to bring it to the next level.
Yeah.
Where people want to be there, not so. You're talking about something that was, maybe in the past there, where we want to move beyond that. We want to make it a little bit nicer place, a little bit more friendly. family oriented. Of course, at night, you're gonna get the people wanna come in for their beers, and whatnot, but I think that's where we're looking at the issues, is the after-hours stuff per se. But again, I don't foresee any issues, and I will address them immediately if they do arise.
Well, what you just said just convinced me. I mean, I'm done with that concern. You know, you said you wanted to step it up, you wanted to make it a little nicer place, you want, you know, a place where I'm gonna bring my grandkids down, right? And have it more family friendly, right? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, it's still gonna be
Well, I mean, it's
It's the
their
API,
port
it's
in,
a
right?
dive
We don't
bar.
wanna, you know, we
You know.
don't want you to change the logo and redesign the store and then have, you know, a social media campaign
we
against.
we kind of have a running joke. We're rebranding it. It's still a dive bar, but we're turning into a 5-star dive bar.
There you go.
So,
There-
you know,
There you go. I love the way you just described that. So, all right, I think that from having this conversation with you and, you know, seeing the plans and the wall and the buffer and everything, and I would be okay with, like, moving forward past that sound issue I had. Thank you for talking to me out loud with this, so.
yeah, no problem. I appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you, John. Eric, any concerns with noise after this discussion?
No further.
Okay, Brian?
Nothing on noise.
Okay, all right, so we've resolved that. Let's move on. You mentioned, I want to discuss this landscaping a little bit. Okay, I'm curious, there's a fence that's going to be put in that runs the length of the property, except behind the building, and that's where all the plantings are. Who's going to see the plantings?
Russ, the neighbor,
The neighbor can see that?
he'd be the only one.
He'd be the only one. Okay, I
It's
got
part,
you.
it's part of the buffer zone. It's not, it's covering the buffer zone, but yeah, it's, I guess it's for the neighbor.
Okay, I'm with you. All right. Dan, other critical points that you want to discuss?
I didn't have anything else critical, just open to any questions that the commission may have.
Brian, did we miss any key points that were on your list? I did not write them down.
The only thing I wanted to add, Mr. Chair, was I've got the aerial on one screen, I've got the site plan on another screen here. I do think, unless commission wants to require the removal of the Meridian driveway,
It's open already. I opened it up.
the barricade?
Barricade's gone. It's open.
Okay, well, so I wanted to, okay, because it's actually in the right of way, so that isn't your property. So that was either a township thing or a Wayne County thing.
But the
So-
barricades weren't put there by the township. That was put there by the previous owner.
Okay.
Which I know for a fact, because
Okay.
the neighbor came over and asked for his blocks back, because he donated them.
I guess I just wanted to point that out as another point to the discussion, Mr. Chair, is that it is not on their property. So I didn't know who put them there. Again, I don't know when they were put there. So if it was a safety function, then, but if that's a safe driveway to operate, then I guess it's
The only
open
reason they were
now.
put in place was the previous owner. Trucks would pull in during the day and turn around, and she thought they were doing some damage to the blacktop. So, but now that we're gonna be open, we'll be open 11 a.m., we're gonna do lunch all the way through dinner and whatnot, so the parking lot's gonna be more full. It's not gonna be vacant where somebody was gonna wanna pull a big truck in there and try and turn around. I don't think they'll have the opportunity, so that is not even a concern of mine.
Well, it looks like that's an integral part of the new parking lot. So you
Yeah.
need that driveway.
Yeah, it kinda makes sense to have it there.
Think so,
That
too.
wasn't too long ago that was put in, was it?
No,
Like a year?
a couple of years ago,
Couple
Carol
years.
put it in, yeah.
Okay. All right, so that was the last of your points?
Yeah, I just want to put forth a quick summary because I have a feeling I think I know where this is heading.
Yes,
So,
please do.
So I don't want to assume, if commission is to make a favorable action on this particular site plan review, I would recommend that you, as part of your motion, include the allowance for gravel parking per section 12.1, paragraph E4, that you allow modification to the landscape requirements per section 13.3J. And if you reference my review letter, I would suggest that items 5, 9, 10, and 12 be included as conditions.
Item 5 is
The receptacle in relation, the waste receptacle in relation to the two northernmost parking spaces. The receptacle needs to be moved farther north, which I believe project architect has indicated was acceptable.
Really? Is that because of, people being able to back out, the doors have to be?
Correct.
All right, so that's what you meant by north. I didn't catch that.
Correct.
Dan?
What? I'm sorry.
Yeah, as indicated there under number 5 there, indicated.
So you move it another
receptacle
5 or 10
Will
feet?
be moved farther north. We can-
Okay, either that,
Not a
or
problem.
if you have 2 extra parking spots, just eliminate the 2 parking spots.
That's an
How about
option.
that? And which addresses what John was talking about. Less trees coming out.
There you go.
How about that? Can we do that?
Yeah,
It's up to you.
I mean,
Two
that's, that
parking spots enough.
would be fine by me.
Okay, the problem solved. All right, so the 2 parking spots beyond the ordinance standard will be removed, and your dumpster spot is just fine. Does that need to be,
I do think you should include that in the motion so that we get a revised plan that reflects that.
Okay.
And that's also items 9 and 10 are also just simple details. Those are just items we want to see on the plan as well. So we need a detail of the parking lot fence. The landscape plan just has a missing notation. And then we also need details of the waste receptacle and enclosure per your
Yeah, it's not
ordinance.
gonna know about what we're.
Okay.
we're taking on this.
And then item 12 is simply
Yeah, that won't
subject to
affect
engineering and
movement,
fire
won't affect
marshal.
it at all.
fire marshal?
John,
Oh, yes, sir.
I'd just like to back up to where that dumpster sits.
How
Do we
about
know
that,
how
Chuck
much
County?
space is needed by moving the dumpster? Would 2 parking spaces be enough? I don't know. I'm just curious on that issue. Not trying to make it tough, I'm just gotta be sure.
Brian, is there a specification on that? Or it looks to me,
There is not. Visually, it will work, Mr. Chair. It
Thank you. I
that
just-
extra space will provide
needed to hear
sufficient
that.
maneuvering.
All right, so that's the gist of the motion, all those items that you mentioned.
I didn't see anybody writing anything down. I know I didn't.
Oh, it's over
but I would make the motion that Brian just said with the caveats that Brian just made.
Okay, I think that's
And
a very good motion.
I'll support that, that thing that he just referenced, Brian, and
I think Jay just called the question.
Yes. Call the question. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
I didn't get much chance to actually talk about
Oh, I'm
the
sorry.
project at all.
Excuse me. Then we're not voting yet.
And I apologize for being blunt about that. I just, there was things that I thought were helpful regarding circulation that, questions that, I'd like to get answered. So again, I'm approaching this from the safety aspect. And so, I know that the review said that there was 2 driveways, put out there from an access management standpoint, which is, best practice for traffic safety. You want to be able to minimize the number of driveways as well as minimize the length of that. I'm guessing that like the width of the driveway on Grow is the entire length of the building, so that's like 100 feet. So I mean, like that's very wide. So again, like if there's ways to be able to demarcate that better, as far as to be able to show that it's just more for parking. It just a 100-foot wide driveway is like very wide from that standpoint. And then, but I did have questions about the one on Meridian, but it sounds like that is pretty integral to the project. So like I will retract that specifically, but just putting it in standpoint that approaching this from like ADA and trying to minimize number of driveways. But like a big thing I did see as far as the circulation, I was confused, and maybe it's what Mr. Borden was saying about using the right of way, but like on the site plans, it did not show any driveway access to like the ADA parking spots. So when I was looking at it, I was like, oh, you have to drive over the bike path in order to get there. So like again, like I'm not sure if you're adding any additional pavement to this area or demarcating it. I don't know how far like that driveway access is getting towards the bike path itself. These are all things that like are concerns, not deal breakers at any stretch, but like be good to be able to understand how much of a buffer is there still going to be between, a new basically drive aisle in order to access parking spots that's running parallel with the bike path, if that is the case. So I don't know if there's questions on those. I do have some other comments, but I just don't want to throw too much at y'all at once.
This is the existing asphalt access way for these parking spots right here. It's right here. All of this space here, this is all grass in between the parking and the bike trail, or bike path.
Yeah,
So there is
I have on my
probably
plans over
roughly, it's roughly a 20-foot buffer of grass between parking and the bike path.
Okay, thank you. That's good to know. So with it being a bike path, the bike path being right over there, it would be nice to have access from the bike path to your restaurant. Again, like if you're a person that's in a wheelchair or handicap, but like you are walking, rather than driving, it'd be good to be able to have a clear path, like from the bike path to be able to get into the building. And it looks like that might be able to be accommodated, like through the access aisle that you have between the two barrier-free spots, which lines up directly with the ramp going up. So I didn't know if that was a possibility, or like if there's other ways to make an actual connection to the bike path.
I mean, somebody could access the bike path from this driveway over here and go across here over to this access point right here.
Yeah, but I mean, accessing from a driveway, that's for vehicles. And, you have people late at night even sometimes, mixed with alcohol. I'm trying to change the mentality of, design, so that way we're making sure that we're thinking about people first, people actually, walking along roads. And so, saying that a person just needs to, walk in the driveway and compete with vehicles that might be turning in or turning out. While it's doable, is that ideal? And I think a lot of times what we're here on the Planning Commission are trying to do is go beyond like what's the bare minimum and see like, hey, how do we add value, and make this, a more ordered and safe and desirable community. So again, like having a direct connection to the restaurant to me, like, shows value that, again, like, we're valuing people of all types. And I know for a fact that, people do like to, bike to the area. They need to like walk to the area. So it's just something that I think that we should be doing as part of all of our developments.
So you're suggesting a sidewalk from the bike path straight across to basically in alignment with the handicap parking places?
Yeah, that was a suggestion. Again, I'm not here to micromanage, but just like having access.
That's a legitimate question.
Understand what the issue is? This item actually comes up a lot, and I always, like these direct sidewalks going to buildings, but I always bring up examples, that contradict this. One is, think about Kroger. There's only 3 parking spots that you can get into that building. Out of the 100 parking spots they have, there's only 3 spots that you can go use and not walk through the parking lot. Think of Myers, other big stores. You have 98%, if not more, people are walking through driveways. It's common to walk through driveways of parking lots. That's what they're designed for. They have pedestrian paths directly to the building for safety. I guess you could, but keep in mind that, there's large big box stores all over the place where 100% of the people are walking through driveways.
So on the other side, you can see that where there's fast food restaurants that they're very even smaller buildings, like they have those sidewalk connections directly up. So I think again, just saying that it's possible to like be able to walk through there, I don't think is the best answer. I really I just feel that again, like if we're a community that values people walking and biking. And, for a very small investment, we're not talking about, much money over here, to be able to, for designs, and I apologize, I'm not picking on you specifically here. This is something that I've, addressed many times, like with my fellow commissioners.
Well, let's ask the other commissioners. Eric, what's your thoughts?
One thing real quick here before we go too far here, maybe this will help a little bit, is the area that I believe we're talking about putting a sidewalk is not the owner's property. It's the right of way. So, are we proposing to add a sidewalk in the right of way?
I don't know what the rules are on that. Brian?
Sidewalks go in the public right of way, Mr. Chair. It would require a Wayne County permit, but that's where sidewalks go, is within the public right of way.
Okay, with a Wayne County permit. All right, Eric, your thoughts?
I mean, I think it's a valuable comment. I don't know if it's necessarily, I would require it for this particular project with the location of it.
Okay. Jay?
Yeah, I think it's always worth considering, and I would recommend, because of the cost, because of the feasible alternatives, I don't think it's a good idea for us to require it as part of this. But I would be happy to make that part of a recommendation that the applicant consider how that might be done in a feasible way to consider those needs.
Okay. John?
I think that the bike path, the non-motorized traffic that goes through there, and its ability to access places up and down Macomb Street. Macomb Street. I'm trying to get Macomb Street to the airport.
Meridian Grove.
Whatever.
Oh man, that was a Floridian slip. I think that all the access from the bike path works kind of well going into these facilities, and they don't have extra sidewalks and added expenses to provide. I don't even know if I couldn't even say that it would be safer. I wouldn't say if we put it in there that we show we care more about pedestrian traffic and non-motorized traffic. I mean, we have a tremendous bike path system here. We put in sidewalks. We're requiring sidewalks for new developments. I'm not going to apologize to anybody for our desire to show that we care about pedestrian traffic. To add it here is just money that could be used somewhere else to make the business better. So my personal feeling is I don't think that we need it.
Okay. Bill?
I tend to agree with the consensus of opinion here. I've looked at this and I'm having a hard time envisioning how anything would effectively work. I see the parking spaces. I see somebody walking out. If they have a wheelchair, they assemble it or unfold it and turn it around behind the car and push it around until they get to the spot where they can get in. That isn't, in my mind, conceptually too much different than Meijer or any other big box store you want to mention. If I wanted to spend an extra $1 on that, I'd be more concerned about evenings. And so you might put a couple extra night lights up for the benefit of people like that who might be harder to see. But that's a whole different subject. But that's my opinion.
Okay. All right, so then it comes down to, let's see, the original motion was from
Jay.
From Jay. Okay, are you proposed an option?
Yeah, I would make an amendment to my motion, which would suggest that the applicant consider ways to involve pedestrian-friendly access to the extent feasible.
Okay. Eric, you were the second, I believe.
No, I was.
Who was the second? John, you were the second?
Yeah, I'm not gonna support that friendly amendment. I mean, I don't consider, I'm just saying, hey, do you consider it? Yeah, I consider it.
No matter what. There's no way to get to your bottom.
Okay,
It's like,
well,
why
given that we had a motion, an amendment without support, we can't do that.
Yeah.
Sorry, Brian.
That's okay.
I'll
I'll
make
just
the-
add just real quick again, this isn't a big box store. Big box stores aren't pedestrian friendly. That's just a fact. Like you look at Fort Street, with the Meijer over there or the Kroger or the Lowe's, those aren't pedestrian environments.
I would add there.
You know, what we're talking about here is a much more intimate area where people are trying to access. And what I was trying to do was provide access for people that are pedestrians and access for people that might have disabilities.
Your point
it's
is
like
well
different
taken.
than a bicycle. So I'm just, putting that out there. The only other things I have too is, again, like being on the bike path, I did not see any notion of bicycle parking. And that can be as simple as like, denoting like where bicycles should park. Maybe it's up on the sidewalk near a building. Maybe it's in a parking spot that, you designate. It could be some bike racks, like there's a variety of different ways that, may cost, nothing more to your project. So I'd encourage you to look at a place to put the, where you'd prefer people to park for bicycling when they're bicycling, because there will be group rides that come and, frequent your restaurant. I know that there's, a woman's ride that happens every Thursday during the summer, and they go all around the island. That's 10, 15, sometimes 50 people, and they go to they go over the Tipsy Fish. They go over to other people's houses. You're right on the bike path. I know they're gonna go there. So it just, again, like it would be nice, like if you could denote like where that was.
We have plans to put a bike rack in.
Okay, so that, you've got plans in there?
So after the patio goes in, because it's gonna be a raised poured patio, concrete, it'll probably either be at the south end of it or the west side of it, depending on, because there's gotta be a access off of the patio at some point. So there'll be space on either portion of that, or both. If we get enough bike traffic in there, we'll put extra bike racks in.
Cool.
You wanna ride up there, we'll give you a seat. We'll get you there.
And just to let you know, I'm not saying you have to do bike racks, because
Was
I
already
know
in
that
the
those
plans.
cost money.
Nope, that was already in the plans. Like I said, we
Gotcha.
want to make it a little more user-friendly for the community. That's what we're looking for. So I'm great with that.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Additional thoughts, Brian?
No, those conclude my comments. Oh, I guess one last thought is I'm excited for this project. I apologize if it came across that I was negative for it. I'm glad to see this, and I'm looking forward to frequenting your business.
Yeah, can't wait to see you.
Well, I apologize for moving around the table and not calling on you. I'm sorry. Excuse me. Okay, so we were under discussion for the motion that Jay put forward and John seconded to approve the project with all the caveats that Brian outlined. So at this point, if there is no further discussion, I'll call the question. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Site plan is approved.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Yep. Okay, gentlemen, it's 9 o'clock.
Good luck and bring back the good pizza.
The pizza's already good. We're gonna make it better.
Okay, it is 9 o'clock. Do you wish to proceed with the last two items, or we want to postpone that to a future meeting? We've been at it for 2 hours. What is your pleasure?
I think we've got someone in the audience for the chicken regulations, which I think is next. So
Now, the next is Macomb Street.
Macomb Street.
Okay, so let's tell you what, we've been at it for 2 hours. Let's take a 5-minute break, and then we'll reconvene.
Okay.
Work on Macomb Street and McChickens. Joy. Ladies and gentlemen, we will now reconvene, and we'll move to the first discussion item, which is Macomb Street zoning update. This purpose of this discussion is to basically position the Planning Commission for the next steps involved in taking action items which were generated from the master plan and turning them into actual changes in the ordinance. And so, to that end, several items have been provided to you. Ross gave you a summary of the history, purposes, and explanation for what we're doing, and a little bit about the background, specifically as it involves the consultants that Ross is proposing, and a potential process. I've taken it a step further, and tonight you had on your table a Macomb Street District Action Item Plan to move forward, and we'll review that shortly. But what I'd like to do first is have Ross, you to kind of summarize exactly where we are and talk about the consultants that are being selected and that get us into the process. Can you do that, please?
Yes, sir. So the DDA is working with OHM advisors on the tax increment finance plan update, as well as a streetscape design plan. We selected OHM advisors after soliciting bids from approximately eight different consultants, and we interviewed OHM and we found that they were the best because A, they have prior history with the island. Two members on that consultant team did the Macomb Street sections of the master plan update. So if you remember, Smith Group kind of worked with CIB planning on the master plan update. CIB did all the sort of Macomb Street redevelopment strategy. What else do they do? The economic and business attraction strategy. So there's already that built-in knowledge of Macomb Street and some of the issues that we face regulatory-wise. So they'd be a great team to work with. So the proposed step, and I just met with them a week ago to discuss the TIF plan update and this zoning update component. And the process that we've kind of laid out was, we will submit or we will receive a scope of work and proposal, cost proposal for that scope of work. That'll be reviewed by myself, and if the board, if the commission tonight says, okay, Ross, this is the head nod to go work with OHM, this is what we'll do, then I'll get the cost proposal from them. I'll present that to the DDA because the zoning update is being funded by the DDA and being funded by a grant. So it's kind of two funding mechanisms at play here. So the DDA would approve to work with OHM, and then it would come back to Planning Commission, and we would go through with the zoning update process. I know that was a little complicated. There's a lot of juggling here going on. So if you have any questions, please let me know.
The DDA recommended this firm to us, or we are recommending the firm to the DDA?
So it's sort of like the DDA's we've already approved the work to do with OHM on a previous project, but I wanted to present these consultants because the DDA already is familiar with them. Like if we get the cost proposal and the DDA is comfortable with that cost proposal, then they will approve it. So it's just kind of like introducing like, hey, here's a potential consultant that both the DDA already selected for a different project and will most likely recommend to the Planning Commission. If the Planning Commission says, the bios of the staff here looks good, they're, if you've had the time to look up the history of the firm, continue going out the procedures that are outlined underneath the background there, just the proposed next steps forward.
Brian, you're familiar with these gentlemen?
Several of them, and the firm definitely, yes.
In your general opinion?
Very good. Yes, I've worked with. It's a long story short how they navigated there through acquisitions and whatnot, but I've worked with a couple of the people who will be working on the TIF plan for upwards of 20 plus years off and on. So high quality individuals, good firm. I think, Ross certainly, along with DDA, vetted through their proposal process, and you did interview too, I believe. So, yeah,
Yep.
it's,
Okay, thoughts on the consultant? Guys in general okay with the recommendations?
Yes, I'm in accord.
John, Jay?
Yeah, no issues.
No issues? No issues down here?
No issues.
Okay, all right, so in general then, the basic proposal of using OHM is a good one. I'd like to discuss a little bit further methodologies and roles and responsibilities a little bit. I put together this, this summary table. It's in your packet. It was on the desk when you came in. What I did was I took the myriad of action items that were listed in the master plan, and I consolidated it and I simplified them because in many cases there were the same action item in under multiple categories, and I broke them down into buckets. Basically, the following buckets: housing, site design, parking, uses, actual zoning, and then regulatory. These were the 6 major buckets that the items fell into for consideration for potential changes for Macomb Street. And in some cases, the recommendations underneath are even contradictory at some point, and so it's not. What the OHM people are going to do is not simply take this list and start drafting ordinance changes. No, that's not the way this is going to work. The Planning Commission still is at the center of this discussion, and we, as a group, will provide direction to OHM so that they know what it is that we as a community want. So I have a proposal basically on this. That what we need from OHM is a lot what Brian gives to us every time we have an application or every time we go through a zoning ordinance. We're going to make a change potentially. Well, first thing Brian tells us is exactly where we're at. What the heck do we have? Okay, and he runs through it and he gives us all the points so that we're all grounded with the same knowledge. And then as we move to a potential change in an ordinance, he then describes the change and then tells us what are the potential benefits and what are the potential concerns. And then from that, with all that base knowledge that Brian gives us every time, we're able to then run discussions and make a decision that then if it's an ordinance change gives direction to Brian as to what to do. Along the way, the executive committee is involved, in working with Brian, ahead of time, so that we're able to basically consolidate a myriad of thoughts into something that is presentable and manageable here at the Planning Commission level. And I would propose that that methodology with the executive committee and the OHM guys would be beneficial as well, just as it is when we're dealing with any issues that Brian is addressing. So. I think that, in the end, by working together with OEM, with that faction, and with clear direction coming from the Planning Commission, we're going to be much more efficient in terms of their dollars and cents. Okay, we don't want OHM being just simply turned loose because the meter is running. Okay, and it's far better for us to provide clear guidance and direction as a Planning Commission so that their efforts are then focused on giving us exactly what we want. Okay, and we give them marching orders and of course along the way, they're going to have other opinions. They're going to have other ideas. Okay, and beyond what came out of the master plan. And I would expect that they would share those with us, and we would evaluate them as opportunities, just like any of the rest of these. And so, we'll be using that skill. But in the end, we'll make the decisions, provide the guidance to them, They'll make the ordinance changes, bring them back to the planning commission, and then we move forward with ordinance change. So, again, the planning commission is at the center of this, and we're basically the engine that's driving it. So that's the way I propose that this would be worked. I'm interested in people's thoughts on that. Jay, we'll start with you.
Yeah, it seems to make sense. I mean, it's consistent with what we've done with a group that has ideas coming in, that can feed us ideas as well as respond to our ideas and vision. So it makes sense to me.
Eric?
Yeah, so I mean, the agenda item right now is for Macomb Street zoning updates, but it sounds like we're talking about using OHM for much more than just Macomb Street.
Well, I don't know. The money right now is strictly directed at Macomb Street. Macomb Street was the priority for the township.
Okay.
Of all the things that we were working on in the master plan, Macomb Street changes were at basically the top of the board's list for what they wanted us to address. So what happens after that, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I mean, the contract would be specifically for Macomb Street District zoning updates.
Okay, all right, that makes me feel a
I
little
don't
better.
think Brian would like it if we extended their contract to other.
No, I'm not suggesting that in the least.
Yeah, no, just, yeah.
I'm happy to hear that it's right now staying on Macomb Street zoning. Okay.
Dan, what's your thoughts on that process?
Yeah, I think it's good to give OHM direction and what this board really feels is important for Macomb Street, as opposed to just having them produce a lot of information that may not be as valuable. So I think it is a good approach.
Okay. Brian, your thoughts?
I'll just echo Dan. I'm good.
Okay. Man of a few words, Mr. Rathel.
So, first of all, great job on this summary from our master plan that took us 2 years to get through, all right? The one thing that I have always it bothered me beyond belief is this township and other departments do master plans, they put them on the shelf and they do nothing about them. They just sit there. We just passed this master plan here in the last few months, and now this is a step to implement, not just talk more about what we wanted, but to implement. We need to have somebody that is going to take these bullet points, John, that you put in safe design, housing, uses, parking. We need to have these implemented, and we need to change our ordinances and do whatever we can as a government to provide the infrastructure for people and businesses to succeed on Macomb Street. And that's what these do, and this is what this consultant is going to do, and hopefully make these ideas turn into reality and not just sit on a shelf. So I'm 100% in favor of this. Ross has done a great job with designing a plan with these people to implement these things, and John, you did a great job here, so I'm 100% in support.
Thank you. Mr. Heil.
I think what we're recommending here is wise. I have not been here when OHM was used before, but I have a feeling there's good experience. If we went to someone else for this, they'd have to charge us more to get some of the acclamation these people already know. I like this. I'd support this.
Thank you. Okay, well, we're going to move in this direction then, Ross. The next time we need to set up a meeting with the executive committee and OHM to have a talk about this. The one thing that, Brian, I wanted to ask you, you are our expert. We depend on you for so many things, as we sit up here. And, it troubles me to think that you would be sitting on the sidelines potentially on something like this. And I'd like you to get your thoughts on how you can contribute to help us with what we're trying to accomplish.
As with most things, Mr. Chair, I am happy to help wherever I can. So I think Ross knows that. So really, if there's something I can contribute that will help the process or bridge a gap or provide a little bit of background, a little bit of history, so they have a greater understanding of Macomb Street, the regulations, how we got there. I'll do whatever I can to help.
Okay, I think that would be very valuable, particularly given your personal relationship with those guys. you know, when we get into some of these issues, to have just to share your knowledge and experience with them. You know, you may be telling them things they know, but more likely you're going to be telling them things they don't know and need to know. And that would be very helpful. I would appreciate that. I think we all would appreciate that.
Yes.
It was very important to have Brian's input throughout the whole master plan process too. You know, I mean, the Smith Group was constantly reaching out to him directly, and you know, it sounds like that the team from CIB are already reaching out to him. So that's good.
Okay. Well, then I guess then at this point, then the next step then is Ross. You need to set up a meeting. I guess what I'd like you to do first, though, is have a discussion with OHM about the role of planning, and the manner in which we expect to interact with them, and get their feedback on that. And I think they would need to kind of know that before they put together a job scope and a potential cost.
Yeah, when I had my meeting with them, I reflected that that sentiment that, you know, there's going to be the need for the consultant to be here in person and have these conversations, and I wanted to have a large component of it, kind of maybe even like, you know, talking about what's going on in other community best practices, sharing ideas, you guys saying we don't really like that, but having the face-to-face discussion. I said that's very important.
Where are these guys from?
CIB was from Fenton, but now actually I think they
Acquired their OHM.
yeah, so now they're with OHM, but I think they're in Detroit, so yeah, they're right down the street. So
All right, cool.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll be able to see them, and the commission will be able to see them face to face, and
Yep.
go from there.
Yep.
Okay. Well, I'm glad that you prompted them a bit on a potential procedure. You've worked with us now for a long time. You know the way this commission
Right,
thinks.
exactly.
So,
Yeah.
so that's a good thing. So I guess the next step then is for you to arrange a meeting with Eric, Jay, and me, with the OHM guy or guys, whoever happens to be coming, and we'll have a discussion about moving this forward.
Well, that's 10:13 according to this?
I thought
Yeah.
that was arbitrary.
Yeah, that's just ideally, but I forgot to remember that I'm having a kid and I'll be out for the next 2 weeks, so that schedule might fluctuate a little bit.
Yeah, you got to fit people's schedules for sure, including yours. Okay, so everybody all right with this? Brian, you all right with all this?
Yeah.
Dan?
Yes.
Eric?
Yes.
Jay?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
Okay, then we have a path forward. We're good to move forward. Excellent.
Oh, that's a discussion item, that's not
That
an
was-
action.
yeah,
Okay.
that's a
So
discussion.
no vote, okay.
Nope, no votes. Which takes us to the next item, which I'm sure we were all waiting with bated breath for,
Somebody is.
and that's the chicken ordinance. And I don't think I'm going to spend a lot of time summarizing this, beyond the fact that we started working on one. We found out it was a little more complicated than what we thought it was going to be. Brian had an opportunity to work with another community that was going through the same throes of discussion, and they were able to resolve some things. So he brought those ideas back to us as potential opportunities. And so, without further ado,
Thanks again, Mr. Chair. I'm not going to dive too in-depth in this tonight. Obviously, A, late hour, B, this is just a discussion item. So as Chairman noted for the rest of the commissioners, so we obviously started drafting some language, I don't know, a year or so ago-ish. As I think everyone's aware, the township has a bit of a contradiction in its ordinances with respect to keeping of chickens. It is prohibited by the zoning ordinance. It is prohibited with caveats in the rest of the township code. You have a chapter called animals, and it is kind of an allowance in certain conditions. So we were directed to sort of reconcile that, and I think the guidance was to draft something that would put forth some regulations so residents could potentially keep chickens in certain circumstances on certain properties with certain restrictions and limitations. So we did draft that. That draft turned into a bit of a mess, and I did have I'm not going to use the word luxury, but I had something in terms of the opportunity. I'm going to use opportunity to work with another client community of mine, and we worked on some animal ordinance updates for them over the past about 6-7 months. What I've put in the agenda packet for you is really just one of the draft, sort of an outline of some of the provisions we came up with. Some of it is reflected in what you saw before. Some of it's a little bit different. And a lot of details still have to be hashed out to make this grows eels ordinance. So we're nowhere near the point of having a draft ordinance, looking at public hearings, anything quite like that. So what I think we would do is, Mr. Chair, similar to the process that you just discussed on the prior agenda item, I think what I'd like to do ideally is, unless the commissioners have some specific input into some of the open-ended items here, I do think it would be appropriate for us to maybe take this into subcommittee, refine it, make it grows eel, and then bring it back to the full commission for, a more detailed conversation. I can go point by point by point. A few of the things that we still have to work out would be sort of the number that we want to allow in terms of the number of chickens that you could have on a property. If we want to have any restrictions or prohibitions on like a minimum lot size or certain zone districts, we want to allow them in, and others where we don't. One of the important things that's not in this model is we still have to deal with waterfront, and we have to figure out if, how, why we want to deal with or allow or regulate chickens on waterfront properties. That's a big item that will have to be discussed. And then one of the interesting things that my other community where this came from, they actually did not end up pursuing this, but one of the original cuts of this ordinance included I think it's the last paragraph actually, the idea of having this as a pilot program. So essentially that community was looking at it for anywhere from a 1 to a 2 year time frame within which they could then observe, track, are there issues, are there complaints, are there concerns, or has it gone off with zero problems whatsoever. So I thought that was kind of an interesting idea to at least have a dialogue with you all, if that might be something that would be interesting, because this is kind of new grounds here. I mean, I know, I guess as I understand, people have had chickens. I think more have chickens than people realize. And I think it's been going on for a little while. So I'm not sure that there are really that many complaints. I know I can think of 1 or 2 offhand in the past couple of years that Ross's department has received. But that would be another option. It's an idea. It's just a discussion point where the ordinance could be effective. We could run through everything, regulate keeping of chickens. And if we do encounter issues, problems, then the ordinance could simply expire, and at the end of that, then there would be no more keeping of chickens. I'm not suggesting that's the case. I'm just saying that that's an option, or it goes off without a flaw, and between commission and ultimately township board, they decide that this is working and we want to keep it in place, and then we end the pilot program, and then the regulations just continue on in the ordinance. It was just a unique approach, so I wanted to bring that up.
And that is definitely unique. All right, so you've heard what Brian's had to say about this, and his next step is basically for the subcommittee to have a go at this again. You guys game for that? Jay?
Yeah, I'd be interested if the commission is supportive of the concept before we spend time wordsmithing and coming up with how it's going to work. I'd want to make sure that the commission thinks that it's a good idea for us to spend time on that.
Let's find out.
They're here. They're already here, right? So chickens are already here.
Right.
So
Yeah, they are already here. All right, Brian?
I'd be supportive of crafting an ordinance, but I'd like to make sure that like if there's people that do have chickens that, or like there's some sort of sounding board is to see like what works for like keeping of chickens. So it's like there might be certain parameters where something that we're promoting maybe might not be feasible at all, or it might tweak our things in order to make things more humane for a specific chicken or anything like that. So just again, like having someone that is familiar with raising chickens would be helpful.
I can, and I'm not going to interrupt every point that comes up, given the late hour. This model and further versions of it, which I will be able to use to supplement the discussion with subcommittee and the commission in the future, it was also done via subcommittee and did have 2 people on a 5-person subcommittee that have experience in keeping chickens. So some of it was vetted already, but that's a different community, and I think it's appropriate to sort of incorporate sort of the Grozeal perspective on that too. So point taken. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Dan?
I would definitely be open to reviewing a chicken ordinance. I have seen a few houses here and there that have chickens. I'm not aware of any issues, but I do know that there's always somebody out there that likes to push the envelope, and cause problems. So it would be ideal to have some ordinances to keep things under control.
Thank you. Eric?
Same.
Same. John?
I agree. Yep.
Bill?
I agree that we should do something with it. I'd like to have opportunity somewhere in here for my wife to comment. She has ideas on chickens that I think will impact the ordinance we make. And if you permit her an opportunity to provide some information to you, that's why she's here.
Okay. Please.
This is your wife?
She puts up with,
So I have prepared what I'll put up on the screen. That's our new cap copy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so you've given us some definite thoughts here.
Yes.
My goodness, you did a lot of work on this.
Thank you. Dr. Marge Field, licensed veterinarian, familiar with avian exotics as well as dogs and cats. Not here so much as to prevent argument, and I'm sure part of this ordinance has to do with the fact that some people have chickens running willy-nilly into other people's property, and that's not right. So, in order to do something that would protect those homeowners' rights from an invasion of chickens, if you will, I think is admirable. But on review of this, I had some very definite ideas. I don't really have ideas as far as to lot size or that sort of thing. I think that, if you're looking at a enclosure that's 80 square feet, 10 by 8, you've got to figure what size property that fits on, as you would permit maybe a shed. First of all, I have kept ducks, I have kept chickens. I would like to see ducks added to this ordinance. They are on the whole very quiet, and the eggs are amazingly delicious. When we come to item C, it says about roosters and other poultry being prohibited. I think you need to do mature roosters. If I go to Tractor Supply or if I mail order chickens from an online source, I don't know who's a rooster or not. We have to wait till they become mature. And I think that and because I want ducks, I took the rest of the poultry out. Slaughtering of chickens, I don't think should be prohibited. I think it's no different than if a hunter goes out and hunts a duck and slaughters it, ideally in their own home. So I think that we can allow that within the residence, and that provides an escape route for this rooster, which you don't have outlined in here what you think ought to happen to it anyway. I think it should not be done outside. I don't think it should offend the neighbors. I don't think, flies, whatever, hygiene. There's all sorts of reasons to do that. And I think you need to have something in there that talks about proper disposal of slaughtering byproducts. So moving on to permits, I think permits should be nominal. And I guess I'll speak towards the limiting as well. Nobody has any idea how much it costs to buy a pre-made chicken coop. They're $1,000. So I think that the permit, if you're going to look at it, should be less than $10. It should be something that's not seen as cost prohibitive, because most of the time people who are growing chickens for eggs are doing it because they want the food value, not necessarily the chickens. And then that goes to limiting them. Again, it's chickens, you don't save any money with chickens. So, you know, I'm not sure you need to worry about limiting it. I also think that people should be limited to obtain their own food where they can. So if we're allowing chickens, then I don't think, again, we should limit permits, because we should allow everyone, although I don't think many people are going to take opportunity of that. On your inspector thing, I assume you've got a qualified inspector. I'm thinking animal control person. I don't know. In C, after the initial inspection, says there's an additional one. I assume this is a surprise inspection. That would make sense to me. I think it should be labeled as such if it is.
Okay.
Going on to location and enclosure, item C, it talks about the enclosure not being more than 5 feet in height. Most of the people who own chickens are over 5 feet. Some are over 6. But if you want people to get in that enclosure and clean it well, they need to be able to stand up. It needs to be easy to do. It needs not to be something that now you've got somebody stooping in there and they're not going to do a good job. So I recommend at least 6 feet. 6.5 would probably accommodate most people on the island. Item E, when we're talking about materials, I look at metal, corrugated, sheet metal. I think that's appropriate for the roofing. And I think some of the enclosures that you buy, if you look at Tractor Supply, I don't know if PVC fits into fiberglass or what, but some have PVC, some have metal, some have wood. So I think we maybe should look at that as far as we look at materials. When we go down to G, the extra containers, others than the ones the chickens are eating in, you want kept in the coop or connected run enclosure. Truthfully, you really want them within the residence. You would like them in the garage so that people get it, take it out. So they've not got these containers sitting out in their coop area. And that concludes my thoughts.
This is great. This is awesome. Thank you for really.
In transparency, I'm married to Bill Heil. I'm next door to Eric Reika, but the opinions I express are my own, and I'm more than willing to be a resource if you so choose to have me.
Excellent. This is, well, you know, we were just discussing about expertise, and here you are. Your timing is perfect. Thank you.
And I just wanted to thank you for volunteering to meet with our executive committee to finalize this draft. It's so nice of you to do that.
Well,
She doesn't even know it yet, but she
I
does.
think so, and one of the things, we built a stable, and I think the stable ordinance obviously never consulted anybody with lumber experience. It's 13 by 11. I don't know where you find a board that big. But, you know, it involves cutting, it involves weakness into the structure. So I would like to be proactive on this.
I had a question for you.
Yes.
In a previous meeting, we all learned that you don't have to have a male chicken or a rooster on site in order to get eggs.
True.
What about for ducks?
Also true.
That's true. Okay.
Also, male ducks do not crow. All ducks are really
The problem that's brought up with roosters is they're loud at times.
The crack of dawn.
Yeah. Also, they're aggressive. As far as male ducks, I don't know of any issues with male ducks.
I've never had a problem.
If we're considering expanding to ducks in our chicken ordinance.
I personally had Peking ducks. They were great.
We never had a bit of trouble with them.
Okay.
Oh, and the one other thing I wanted to ask about is I know of one person on the island who does keep a chicken in the house as a pet. We also have a chicken in our garage, in a cage, that Bill got for the person giving physical therapy when he had his knee replaced. And she needed a home for it because it was being brutalized by other chickens.
It's the truth.
That's Bill's
But it's well cared
emotional
for.
support chicken.
Doesn't bother anybody. We're a long way from the road.
I got a chicken with my knee. I told you guys that, I think it was my first meeting.
He's got a little collar for it.
Anything else?
I think we're good. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, cool. All right, Chair's report. Is there anything on the docket that's come in that will drive a meeting? Okay, then what will drive the meeting will be the outcome from our discussion, executive committee discussion with the OHM folks. And we'll let you all know when we're ready to,
Actually, we might be having a lot split for the playground on Macomb Street.
oh,
So
Yes, that's
that
for
actually
sure.
will
okay.
probably come up this month.
All right, then we'll see how that
I'll-
all fits in. So
I'll
we'll
let
keep
you
you
all
all
know.
advised. That's it for the chair's report. No other public comment, I don't believe. So that takes us to a motion to adjourn.
So
So moved.
Motion, second.
And
All in
second.
favor? Aye.
Aye.
And I.
Thank you very much.